Welcome to This Is the Xbox Series X and I suppose Xbox Series S controller. So we've had a chance to play with this back in February when we got our early hands on, but now we actually have the controller here in the studio. So I want to take a little deep dive into what makes a Series X controller not the exact same thing as every other Xbox controller ever.
I give this 10 out of 10.
Hold on, you can't start the video by just tossing 10 out of 10s. Do you think we're IGN over here?
Yeah.
Thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to This Is for other very short videos like this. If you look at the two of these side by side, so on my right we have the Xbox One controller. So this is the older model without the headphone jack and without Bluetooth, but essentially the same sort of design compared to the Series X. They look very, very similar, but there are quite a few differences.
Yeah, and they're all very subtle.
It's evolution, not revolution.
Right.
The controller is actually slightly differently shaped.
Yes.
So it actually kind of tucks in. So if you look at like where my fingers are right here, like I'm actually in a little bit more. Whereas when I pick this one up, my hands actually kind of like pivot out. So the reason they gave for doing this is that essentially it's still comfortable for people with larger hands, but if you have a slightly smaller hand, this Series X controller is going to be marginally better. Not a big difference, but it is a little bit sort of tighter on the top.
The other thing too is you had on the One controller very smooth plastic, which I was never that big of a fan of.
It gets really like sweaty and kind of gross as you're gaming for hours and hours on end. If you're into Fortnite or Fall Guys isn't on Xbox yet, is it?
No.
What's a game that the kids play on Xbox?
One of the things that I really appreciate about the Series X controller is that it's textured in this little area. It's very subtle. I don't even know if the camera's gonna pick it up, but like you can.
Oh, that's not a good noise.
It's not a good noise.
But that's also not a good noise.
Yeah, like it's still plastic, but it's.
Can we title this like ASMR Xbox Series X controller test or something?
This is the texture that you want.
Okay.
I'm testing the real things about the controller.
Other things that are updated on the Series X. Do we call this just the Xbox Series controller? So the thing is, something to keep in mind with all of these controllers, they're all intercompatible with each other. So for example, this original launch Xbox One controller will work on something like a Series S or Series X, and likewise, you can buy a Series X controller and still play it on your original Xbox One or One X, and of course they all work with PC as well, which actually is really nice.
It's really nice because, again, like maybe people don't like the grip that we just said we liked. And
or you have a bunch of old Xbox One controllers.
Right, you don't have to buy new ones.
Up front, there are a few differences. So the D-pad is now this little sort of like dish shape. So in fact, if actually I bring in the Elite controller, you'll see that it's very similar to this. I actually kind of like this more. And in fact, if someone in my life were to have, theoretically of course, touched this controller, the first thing that she may have said was, oh wow, this feels much better. Hypothetically, of course, that's not a real story. I'm just hypothetically speaking.
Hypothetically, I remember hypothetically someone signing an embargo deal.
Let's call it Series controller. So beyond that, up front, you'll also notice that there's now a share button. So this isn't exactly revolutionary or dramatic. You can assume what that might be able to do.
Your cool, you clip your cool headshot, whatever, bam.
Share to mixer.
Rest in peace.
Where's the keyboard? I need F.
F.
On the bottom, it is basically identical. So we have the same port for a keyboard, for a headset, or whatever. You also have your headphone jack. Now, this is actually an area of the controller that was not changed, and specifically to keep compatibility. So even though the top of the controller is slightly different, this from here, as far as I know, is completely the same, which means that, any of your old accessories will definitely work.
And that was really Xbox's whole mantra this entire generation, was that the Series X and all of its accessories just work with everything that you already own.
Yeah.
So,
which is new for this generation, right?
Right, and that's really refreshing. I like that.
Now, I mean, look, there's also a whole conversation here about what PlayStation's done with the DualSense controller, almost call it the DualShock, where that obviously is a very new controller, and there are certainly advantages to that, because if you go for a clean sheet of paper design, you can incorporate things like, like the triggers. You can push the envelope farther, but on the flip side, you do lose the ability to have that backwards compatibility in such a clean way. It can go both ways, but I've always liked the Xbox One controller. Regardless, if you like an Xbox controller, you will find that this is a very similar thing. Now, like you were saying earlier, they have that new texture on the back, and they also have the texture on the actual triggers, which is nice, especially like on this bottom side. It's kind of hard to see on the bumpers, but very nice, clicky, tactile feel. Yeah, but it actually has like the bumps on the side. So let's do a little sound test. So I'm gonna go ahead and push my triggers to my buttons. So this is the Series controller. Sounds better.
Yeah.
It's definitely a little bit more like, this sounds hollow, I suppose?
Yes, like especially the buttons.
Yeah. Now, beyond that, if you look around the backside of the controller, what you'll see is, well, our good old friend, AA.
Like, I get why people like it. You know, you could just throw in new ones when the controller's dead, or you could just get, rechargeable pack. But the way that the Elite series has done it is just, like, this is so good. And, like, the battery lasts a super long time. Yeah, I think I've charged this, like, 3 times in the year that I've had it.
Yeah.
Like, it's crazy. My main issue with any of the battery kits is, like, one, I think they're ugly. So when
you mean the ones with like little like hole in the back where you could like just drop it on a dock and whatnot?
Yeah, those are pretty big contacts.
Yeah.
Which is just not like, when you look at like the Series X one, it's super minimal. Like they have the little dock for it, which is it's just a nice stand. This like, I like this.
Yeah.
However, one of Xbox's like really cool features is all the colorways you can do with this.
Yes.
Like the Creator Lab is so cool, but then if you have one of the battery packs, those never match the colorways.
These are most of the changes on the exterior of the Series X. So new, slightly updated design. You have the much better D-pad. You have the new texture. You have the USB-C. I guess we didn't mention that. It does have USB-C now instead of micro USB. Excellent. It is compatible with PC, Xbox One, Series. It works with everything.
That's one thing that's just like, it's nice that they all have Bluetooth now instead of the, like, granted, I think all of them before had
so the launch Xbox One controllers to this one. So you can see the difference because it's actually the separate piece of plastic here. This was a non-Bluetooth controller because it had this, and you also can tell because it doesn't have the headphone jack.
Yeah, so not dealing with the Microsoft wireless radio is great, especially when they're trying to push Game Pass and xCloud.
Yeah.
So now your one controller is compatible with literally any device that you try and play xCloud on.
Very good point. Yeah, so you can pair this with your phone, with your iPad, or whatever the case is. Now, there is another feature which you can't see, and it's not really easy to test, but there's actual like improvements to the latency. So this is something that they were talking to us about a few months ago when they had first sort of showed off the controller. Now, it's kind of complicated, but essentially the controller is able to timestamp. I'm gonna have to be very careful on how I say this. The controller is able to timestamp the time that you press a button, and that will be synced into either your console or when you're playing on xCloud, which this is all theoretical. I don't know how much of this is actually going to be available at launch, but essentially the controller can say, hey, at second exactly this, you press the A button. It will then send that to the Xbox, and the Xbox will go, oh, okay, I know exactly how long ago that controller was, or that control was sent, to be able to tighten up the latency not only on the game, so you should have theoretically slightly improved latency on local, but specifically with something like xCloud, it will know exactly the end-to-end latency between when you press that button on a controller, when it goes all the way to the data center, processes it, sends you the frame back. We shall see how actually big of a difference that makes, but we know that this is a feature in these controllers to help improve the latency from end to end when you press the button and you actually get that frame displayed on your TV. But regardless, there are a lot of improvements for the Xbox Series controller, but on the whole of it, it is similar. If you like an Xbox One, or even if you like the Xbox 360 controller, this is a very natural evolution. Still works with PC, still has the same great sticks and the face buttons, the D-pad is much better, but really, this is not something which is going to blow your mind. And the nice thing is, if I have a Series X or a Series S, I will feel 100% confident still keeping my old Xbox One controllers around. It's not like, this is your little brother controller, and
it's not
this
the Mad Cat,
the wired one
with turbo.
That, my friends, is a little look at what you can expect out of the Xbox Series controller when it goes on sale fairly shortly. Can we give it a rating or a review? Nope, not yet, but I think our thoughts are pretty self-evident. So thank you very much for watching. Make sure to subscribe to This Is for lots more wonderful content like this. I said wonderful with a straight face because it's obviously less than wonderful. But thanks for watching. We'll see you next time if you judge us to be worthy of your wonderful view.
Really selling the channel right now.
I never do.
I know.